Right, my name's Joe Cook. I'm a musician and a poet from Birmingham. I'm really buzzing to be asked to be involved in this project. I think it's great. I've been watching some of the videos online and it's given me loads to go away and check out, which is really cool. So I don't really have many storybooks. I read a lot of books. When I read stories, it's more comics and graphic novels, so I don't really think it would work on this format. So like I said, I'm a lyricist, so what I've decided to do, I've decided to pick some songs, some lyrics, which tell stories or talk about different people's experiences or things in history, and paint nice images. I find paint nice images in the listener or the reader's heads. They're all actually Irish folk songs. I think folk music in general, wherever it's coming from, whether it's from the West Indies, from India, from Eastern Europe. Folk music is a really interesting way and a beautiful way of telling stories and keeping history alive and talking of events. Obviously, folk music comes from a time where people were illiterate, where the passing on of stories was like a newspaper going from village to village and stuff like that. The reason they're Irish is just, I like a lot of Irish folk music. My granddad was from Ireland. Someone, for me, who struggles to read, listening to folk music in my early teens was a real good way and a catalyst for me really connecting with that part of my heritage, for learning about Irish history, the struggles in Ireland, particularly learning about what I'm very interested in, the Irish diaspora, of there's talk and stories of people going out around the world and obviously contributing to society all around the world and things like that. So I'm going to try my best to read them. I'm really not the best at reading, so forgive me. I'm definitely not going to sing them for you, don't worry about that. So yeah, let's get going. So the first one is called Thousands a Sailing. It's by the Pogues. It was actually written by Philip Chevron, who was a guitarist who sadly passed away in 2013. And it's about the Irish migrating or emigrating to America. And yeah, if you like it, if you want to hear the song, it's off their album, If I Should Fall with Grapes of God, which is an amazing album. There's a really nice video on YouTube of Philip singing it in Japan, because often Shane McGowan used to sing it. But yeah, so I hope you enjoy it. And this is Thousands a Sailing. The island, it is silent now, but the ghosts still haunt the waves, and the torch lights up a famished man whose fortunes could not save. Did you walk upon the railroad? Did you rid the streets of crime? Were your dollars from the White House? Were they from the five and dime? Did your old songs taunt to cheer you, and did they still make you cry? Did you count the months and years, or did your teardrops quickly dry? I know, says he, 'twas not to be. On a coffin ship I came here, and I never even got so far that they could change my name. Thousands are sailing across the Western Ocean to the land of opportunity that some of them will never see. Fortune prevailing across the Western Ocean. Their bellies full, their spirits free. They break the chains of poverty and they'll dance and they'll dance. In Manhattan's desert twilight, in the depth of afternoon, we stepped hand in Broadway like the first men on the moon. And the blackbird broke the silence as he whistled it so sweet, and in Brendan Bain's footsteps, I danced up and down the streets, and then we said goodnight to Broadway, giving it our best regards, tipped our hats to Mr. Cohen, dear old Times Square's favourite bard, and we raised a glass to JFK and a dozen more besides, and when I got back to my empty room, I suppose I must have cried. Thousands are sailing again across the ocean, where the hand of opportunity draws tickets in a lottery. Postcards were mailing, the sky blue skies and oceans, from rooms and daylight never seen, where lights don't glow on Christmas trees, and we dance to the music and we dance. Thousands are sailing across the Western Ocean, where the hand of opportunity draws tickets in a lottery. Where we go we celebrate the land that makes us refugees, from fear of priests with empty plates, from guilt and weeping effigies, and we dance to the music and we dance. There you go. So the next one I'm going to read is a more recent one. It's by an Irish singer-songwriter called Lisa O'Neill. It's about Dublin dock workers that were made redundant and lost their jobs and replaced by machines. So that kind of story of a man being replaced by a machine, and these kind of old, tough, hard-working Irishmen being replaced by a computer or a contraction. So yeah, it's called Rock the Machine. It's off her album, I forget the name of it, but you should definitely go check it out. She's brilliant. I'm losing world love. My hands are soft as cotton gloves. Machine has eaten up my job, my meaning, my cause. Machine with the strength of 100 men. Can't feed and clothe my children. Can't greet a sailor coming in, or know of desperation. I shoveled coal down Spencer's dock. I took your deer into wedlock. In your bid bear us a beautiful flock. We will rock the machine down on the dock. We will rock the machine until it stops. Oh Lord, if you show me gold, like a heron I will go. Roaring Liffey when you're high, like a comrade I will die. The cold wind flow and I will rise. We're going off to win back time. We're going off to win back pride. We'll rock the machine until it dies. Today, dear, I'm unemployed. Before I spoke, you read my eyes. I feared of nothing or no one, but I feel old and I'm so young. I miss the graft, I miss the boys. I plead for purpose in the void. Time is inwards, ticking tighter. I wish my load was a mountain lighter. I shovel coal down Spencer's dock. I took your deer into wedlock. And you did bear us a beautiful flock. We'll rock the machine down on the docks. We'll rock the machine until it stops. So that was Lisa O'Neill's one, Rock the Machine. So next one I'm going to read is an old song that's been reworked by lots of different artists. It was originally wrote in 1915. It's about a recruitment sergeant recruiting for the British Army, and it's a conversation between a young Irishman and an officer for the British Army. As I was walking down the road and feeling fine and larky-o, a recruitment sergeant came up to me, says, "Hey, you look fine in khaki-o. For the king is in need of men, can read this proclamation-o. A life in Flanders for you then would be a fine vacation-o." "That may be so," says I to him, "but tell me, Sergeant dearie-o, if I'd a pax upon me back, would I look fine and cheery-o? For you'd have your train and drills until they had you one of Frenchies-o. It may be warm in Flanders, but it's drafty in the trenches-o." The sergeant smiled and winked his eye. His smile was most provoking-o. He twiddled and twirled his wee moustache. He said, "I know you're joking-o. For the sandbags are so warm and high, the wind you won't feel blowing-o. When I wink to call him passer-by, says, what if it was snowing-o? Come rain or hail or wind or snow, I'm not going out to Flanders, oh, there's fighting in Dublin to be done. Let your sergeants and commanders go. Let Englishmen for England fight. It's just about time they started, oh. I wish the sergeant a jolly good night." And there we went and parted, oh. Bit of a muck up in that one. And the last one I'm going to read for you, if I can find it, there it is a Pogues one again. This one was written by my favourite lyricist songwriter ever, Shane McGowan. There's quite a lot of repetition in the chorus, so I might just read that once. It might be a bit weird, like a real dramatic reading. But it's called A Pair of Brown Eyes. It's quite an interesting song to listen to. It's basically about a guy who goes into a pub because his partner's left him and he's trying to drown his sorrows. And while he's in the pub, getting hammered and trying to forget about it, he ends up talking to an old guy who's also getting hammered to forget his sorrows. And this guy tells him the story of how he came back from war and his partner had also left him. So they kind of connect on this thing of they've both been heartbroken and they're kind of trading stories. And and it's just basically about that. And it's a beautiful song. Christy Moore does a really nice version as well, so I highly recommend you check it out. So it's the last one I'm going to read for you, and it's called A Pair of Brown Eyes. One summer's evening, drunk to hell, I stood there nearly lifeless. An old man in the corner sang where the water lilies grow, and on the jukebox Johnny sang about a thing called love, and it's how you kid and what's your name and how would you bloody know. In blood and death near the screaming sky I lay down on the ground, and the arms and legs of other men were scattered all around. Some cursed, some prayed, then cursed, then prayed and bled some more, and the only thing that I could see was a pair of brown eyes that were looking at me. But when we got back, labelled parts 1 to 3, there was no pair of brown eyes waiting for me, and a roving, I'll go for a pair of brown eyes. I looked at him, he looked at me, and all I could do was hate him, while Ray and Philomena sang of my elusive dreams. I saw the streams and the rolling hills where his brown eyes were waiting, and I thought about a pair of brown eyes that were waiting once for me. So drunk to hell I left the place, sometimes crawling, sometimes walking. A hungry sound came across the breeze, so I gave the walls a talking, and I heard the sounds of long ago from the old canal, and the birds are whistling in the trees where the wind was gently laughing, and a roving, I'll go for a pair of brown eyes. There you go, there's some folk lyrics for you. I hope you enjoyed listening to them, and hopefully I can share some more of you. So yeah, keep logging on to Gap and checking out what they're doing. It's a brilliant project. Take care.